Ooh.
What's going on, everybody? I think we are starting to get attendees coming in. Quick introduction. My name is George Chao. I'm the founder, CEO of Game Theory Tables, and this is going to be the easiest and most fun panel that you will see all day today on Wednesday. We have some amazing experts and leaders of industry here with us. We have Andrew Clayton from Foundry Virtual Tabletop with us, Simonet from Pixel Dice, and we have one of our arena founders, Erik Mattsen, with us to discuss the future of hybrid gaming. What is hybrid gaming? We're going to learn about it right now, which is integrating the digital tools, the newest digital tools that are available with in-person gaming, with peripherals, really cool stuff. Panelists, I'm going to start with a very quick icebreaker, which is, all right, what is your favorite animal, real or mythical? Let's go with Erik.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say sharks. I grew up on an island off the coast of Maine, and we didn't see many sharks, but when we did, they were very exciting.
I love it. All right, John, how about you?
Well, actually, I'm gonna stay in the water. Mine's pufferfish. They're just so stupid looking. They're so cute. Like when you see them with their big eyes. I love diving, and the pufferfish are always a treat. They're just like so. Anyway, but so yeah.
Andrew, how about you?
Tough one. Real, I'll go tiger. They're awesome and my alma mater. And then mythical, I'll go with the mighty Yarnak, great beast of burden in our original world of Ember.
I
Nice.
love it. And for myself, I'm just amazed that this thing exists. Mine is the narwhal. Just really cool thing that I think should be mythical, but it's real. All right, so guys, here's a little housekeeping. Here's what we're doing. Today's going to be a 30-minute panel on hybrid gaming, what the future, what we're seeing as entrepreneurs, as people that build companies, how the connection, the integration of the new digital tools and the peripherals are tying into traditional gaming. All right, so we're going to show you guys some of that stuff. There's going to be a 15-minute question and answer section at the end. All right, so everybody can please, as you guys are going through and you're coming up with ideas, questions, drop them in the chat and put it on, I believe, either everybody or host and panelists, if you see that option, and we will go ahead and answer all of those at the end. The best question will get 6 Meeple Buddies from Game Theory Tables. What Meeple Buddies are, they are magnetic coasters / card holders in the back. All right, so the best question, we will throw this your way. All right, so how did we get here? Right. So actually, how this panel came about was actually from PAX Unplugged. Right. So the arena has been in development production for 2.5 years now. Last year, we actually started shipping to founders like Erik, and I asked Andrew and Jean to do a hands-on demo with us at PAX Unplugged. Right, that was the first time that we integrated both the software, the hardware, and the peripherals together, and the result was that everybody saw it was super engaged, super excited about it. And actually, when we cut the content following that, that was by far the most viewed content that Game Theory put out in 24. So the aha moment was, whoa, not only are we developing our own individual projects, but when it comes together, it's something that really is compelling and super interesting. It's a brand new sort of way to play. So that is the origins of this panel. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about that from the builder perspective and then also the user perspective. Now let's go ahead and give a quick background to our panelists here. Andrew, tell me if this is correct. Foundry VTT is a modern, rich digital platform designed to be used for tabletop role-playing. It was created by Andrew, who developed the software in August 2018. And tell me if this is true or not. It was initially a personal project driven by Clayton's dissatisfaction with existing virtual tabletop options and his vision to enhance the online gaming experience.
Amazing. I don't know where you found that, but yeah, that's basically right. I started working on Foundry VTT as a kind of nights and weekends hobby project where I was curious, like, oh, could I make something that would be useful for myself and for my friends, playing our own games. Always had a love for playing RPGs and kind of found myself playing online more than in person, for various reasons. And so, yeah, just trying to think about like, oh, would I have the hubris or the audacity to think to try and make something that I would enjoy using? And I think a lot of the design decisions, a lot of the development of Foundry has followed on from that, and just trying to make something that I myself would love. And I guess I found myself in a very fortunate position that there's many, many, many other people out there that happen to be interested in the same sort of things. And so fortunately, by like treating myself as the customer and then going from there, we've managed to make something great for a lot of people.
And Foundry is absolutely epic. I do have to mention that Foundry is our preferred partner for the arena. Just absolute awesome product.
Thank you.
John, let me introduce the mad scientist behind Pixel Dice. I'm not even sure how this idea came about. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about it, but
yeah,
Pixel Dice broke Kickstarter a couple of years ago.
Thanks.
So please tell us more about that.
Yeah, so actually, these are the dice. This is the D20 here. And oh, you're seeing some of our sets on screen. So yeah, I started my first prototype around 2018, I think 17 or 18. Again, as a sort of like hobby project, side project. And I happened to share my creation sort of like with the public on a electronics / tinkering hacking platform, and got like a lot of really good reactions, good feedback, good suggestions. And so little by little built the pixels as they are with all the features, including the RGB LEDs, the wireless charging, the Bluetooth abilities, all these things. And ultimately decided, okay, well, maybe we'll try to do a Kickstarter with this thing. And so that was 3 years later, about 2021. And like you said, it did really, really well. So we're very fortunate. And since then, we've been basically working on manufacturing all these dice. It's over 100,000 dice to make, which is kind of scary when you just made a few in your garage, basically, right? With like pressure pots and things, and now you have to like think about manufacturing at scale and supply chain and all that stuff. And so yeah, so Pixels, they let you mostly show off to your friends as you play, but also help you play online if that's what you want, or augment your experience overall, through our also preferred platform, which is Foundry VTT, on any of your screens, be it computer screen or the arena, and you hopefully will get to see some videos of that in just a little bit.
You got it. I love that. I love that description of the entrepreneur's roller coaster that you just described. Yeah, and it's just so cool how the physical dice tie in with Foundry, and then now being able to play with it on the arena with your friends. It's really a kind of a cool integration. Now, moving on, we have Erik Mattsen, who game theory is nothing without our first adopters and customers that allow us to continue to innovate. And Erik is one of our highly regarded, and we have a Discord for arena owners, and he's actually our resident Foundry expert. So working and testing things with Erik, just really grateful to have him on the panel today, and being one of the first early adopters. So Erik, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got here?
Well, thank you, George, for inviting me to this discussion. I'm really excited to talk about this combination of these three technologies. I've been playing D&D and other tabletop role-playing games since 1977. I think that makes me the old man in the room. But I've got a background as a software engineer and a quality assurance analyst. So my entire role-playing life, I've been looking for ways to combine technology into my around-the-table gameplay to make things easier for the dungeon master or game master, to try and push the actual mechanics of the rule sets into the background so that the games can become more and more story focused with less concern about, what's the math and how do we do all these calculations. Like many people, when the pandemic hit, my group started looking for a way to continue playing through the pandemic. We tried a bunch of different online platforms before we came to Foundry, and we just fell in love with it. As a software engineer, I loved the extensibility, how I was able to modify and find modules to add to it to get the game to work exactly the way I wanted it to work. It's been wonderful working with Foundry. Last year at Gen Con, I saw the arena for the first time. I had actually put together my own little 40-inch tabletop display, but it weighed about 70 pounds and was very difficult to carry around to different places. I mean, the arena weighs a lot too. You can't carry that around. But it's a great piece of furniture. We use it, as a dining room table. It's great all around. But anyway, so going from Foundry and playing online, when the pandemic ended, we all looked for a way to get back together and play in person again. And we did, but we missed what Foundry was doing for us. So, when I saw the arena at Gen Con, I knew that this was a perfect way to meld what Foundry gives us with in-person play. It wasn't until later that we found the Pixel, and the Pixel's been a great addition. The one thing, and I'm sorry about this, Andrew, but the one thing that my players always complained about was they always wanted to roll their dice.
Only one thing. That's pretty good, actually. I would expect a much longer list.
Well, that's the consistent one. But the being able to add the Pixel, so now that they can roll their dice while using Foundry on the arena, it's just been wonderful, and we're very excited to play using all three of these technologies.
I love that, Erik, and we'll talk a little bit more, get your experience in a couple minutes here. I hate talking about myself, but I'll do it real quickly. My name is George, and my background spans almost 20 years now. 19 years ago, I created BBO poker tables, which is still the leader in premium poker tables. So I've been in making some sort of game table to create unforgettable memories with friends and family for almost 20 years now. The store of game theory started about 6 years ago now at this point, when one of my close friends, who's very deep in the board gaming publishing space, really just tapped me and actually pulled me and said, George, you make poker tables. You have to look at game tables right now. All right. So we started exploring that. And then about the story of the arena started about 3 years ago, where one of our customers really challenged us to make a digital table. When I first started on this journey, there were some constraints around what people were doing DIY. They were essentially putting just a analog TV into a table. And although that was unique, that didn't quite check all the boxes when I looked to create something like this. What I think really gives birth to the hybrid experience was the decision to add the touch screen and the Wi-Fi capability. Now, to actually interface, interact, and bring content in a controllable manner onto the screen, right? That's really what I see as unlocking this hybrid, because now it's not just projecting, right? Now you're interacting, right? So really the heart of the arena, and then as a result, the hybrid environment was cracking the proper development of that screen, right? So 3 years ago, we were challenged to do that. It took about 1.5 to 2 years to really fine tune it. Last year, towards the back half, we started shipping out, and that's sort of what brought us here today. So this is kind of a thing that's new. We're all figuring, everybody, even the attendees, you guys are figuring this out with us, right? We just want to show, okay, well, here's what it can do now, and discuss about what the future could be. So I want to preface that real quick. Now let's go ahead and move on to the hybrid gaming experience in real life, right? And there's nobody better to share that with us than our resident hybrid gaming expert, Erik, who's had the arena for, maybe half a year now, give or take. You're what, Erik? You're number 74?
Number 74.
Number
Yeah.
74. The founders all got a badge of their serial number. Erik is number 74. Erik, do you want to share with us what are the notable differences of hybrid gaming versus traditional play? Give me both the good and the bad. This is not a sales job here. We are just good, bad. We want to hear it so we can improve on it.
One of the things that I and my players really love is the ability for Foundry as the base map. Well, let me explain a little bit about how we play. We've got Foundry set up on the arena, and we use miniatures on top of that and pieces of terrain here and there. Not a lot, just focus pieces, a statue, an altar, different things, just as a focus piece. But we do use miniatures as we play. One of the great things that we really like about this hybrid, one is we get to use all the miniatures we've collected and all the terrain pieces we've collected. But we also get the immersion and the interaction that Foundry gives us. We get to see spells being cast and missile weapons flying across the screen, and dragon breath, engulfing the players. It's just amazing. It's a whole nother level of immersion that you just can't get from describing it. Being able to see it as it happens really makes a big difference to the players, and we all love that. The other thing, which I don't think many people talk about, is because Foundry was designed as an online system to begin with. If one of my players can't make it to the table, they can join remotely. I'm currently away from home. I live in New York, but I'm down in Florida. On Sunday, I ran my game from Florida, not using the arena, but because everything was already set up to use the arena, I could run my game from anywhere. So you know, it's great if the dungeon master can't make it there, or if a player can't make it there, you can still run your game, you know, which is wonderful. The other thing that's really good is that I really like is being able to show images and handouts and other things on that huge 65-inch display. Everyone can see it at once. Everyone can read it at once. You know, that's great. Foundry being able to handle all of the math behind the scene. You know, I don't have to, you know, calculate anything. The players don't have to wait for me to figure something out. It just happens. And now that we've got the pixel die, you know, them being able to roll that pixel die while we're playing, just, you know, it makes it the best experience gaming that I or any of my players have had ever, I think. There are some downsides. When you roll the pixel die, you can see the result on the die before Foundry picks it up and applies it. It's not a lot. It's a second to 2 seconds, but there is a slight delay there. A lot of people have complained about the lag between you know, the laptop or whatever you're using to run Foundry. I have not experienced that. I run Foundry directly off the Arena. I open up a web browser and connect directly to Foundry. There are no cables or anything else connecting to the Arena table, and I have not had any lag problems whatsoever. It works great that way. I think more people should probably try that. You get the full benefit of the touch screen, and I haven't seen any lag. When using miniatures, one of the great things is, you know, the miniature itself does not register on the screen, but if, you know, like when you're playing chess or any other board game, you pick up your piece and you move it. So, you know, the only thing we've had to, you know, do is, you know, I tell the players, pick up your miniature, put your finger on the token, and drag the token to where you want it to go, and then put the miniature back down on top of the token. And that works great. I can't really think of anything else that, well, I'm hoping there's lots of questions. There's probably a ton of things that I can talk about, but I'm not sure what people are interested in. But I just think the combination of the 3 technologies is just amazing. And yeah, there are a couple of issues. It did take me a little while to get the pixel die to work because of the way it needs to connect to the web. But not long, just a few minutes once I realized what I needed to do. And, you know, everything's working great these days.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of why we say that this is at the cutting edge, because this right now, what Erik is testing right now is just the 3 products as is, just coming together. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities to make it a little bit better. In creating the Arena, we packed it with as much firepower, processing power. So I'm glad to hear that Erik is actually running it off of a browser base. You know, we have connection sort of things that we can optimize, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's you know, very it gives a lot of, you know, potential to sort of what could be here. Andrew and John, as you guys are listening to this, what are you guys seeing as the future opportunities of this sort of setup? I'll start with John first and then go to Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's removing as many hurdles and as much friction as possible, like exactly like what Erik was talking about. Even just the delay between the dice, you know, the real dice and the virtual dice is just a little bit of not frustration really, but like things you wish it just was slightly better. You know, the connection issues is something that actually we're working on, making it easier, all these things. But just as a general theme for me, the sort of future possibilities are all along that same line of improving the experience in a way that doesn't add any sort of barrier of entry, or like, oh wait, no, you can't roll because you have to click the button first. Like, the more we can move away from requiring extra steps for the players to enjoy, and just allow them to continue, just sort of like stay in the immersion, is the kind of features that I'm looking for. So tokens, registering minis on the table directly, for instance, is like a no-brainer, right? Like, when you pick it up, it would be awesome if there was some tech to recognize and move it and all these things, right? Like, so that you can just one by one remove every single little sort of like mini frustration, and just leave your players in that just enjoyment and immersion. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I share a lot of Jean's thoughts in terms of friction reduction. But I think there's also some, I guess, speaking specifically about the sort of trio of the Arena, Pixels, and Foundry, I think there's a couple of things that I feel are pretty exciting. Maybe like knowing which player is seated at which position on the table, so that some things could be done using that data, like automatically repositioning or rotating certain UI elements so they're oriented in a friendly way for the person whose turn it is. That would be a really nice touch. I think spatial audio is a really cool idea that I'd love to see if it could be explored, in terms of if there could be, speaker setup with the table that would use some of the spatial audio features inside Foundry, because there's already that ecosystem, that infrastructure inside the software. That's pretty neat. But yeah, I mean, I think, those are two examples, but I guess the list could go on in terms of ways that you could allow a physical component to integrate into the software if you knew the right things about the players, where they're seated, or different peripherals that you have access to that you could tap into, things like Philips Hue. Like the background of the webcam right now is, you can't see behind me, but like I have like Philips Hue strips in my office, and like those can integrate into Foundry, so I can like change the color of the room depending on like what is happening in the game environment. So if we're in like a really spooky, creepy, like vampire castle or something, like the whole room can become like red infused. And I mean, that obviously goes beyond just our products, but like there's ways to keep kind of pushing, like how do we bring an extra element in to the real space that knows what's happening inside the game and can react to it or can prompt it.
I mean, I love that when we start ideating sort of what could be. There's so many different things here, and that's kind of the exciting part of this. And as you guys are hearing, we have to consider the hardware issues and then the software issues and all of this coming together to create this elevated experience. It's really cool, a fun challenge to think about and work on. So just a quick reminder, guys, we are giving away the Meeple Buddies here for best questions. So drop your questions in. We're about to get to the Q&A very quickly. Drop your questions into the comment section. So let's go ahead to current limitations, and I'll talk a little bit about that lag, right? Because this is something that is super interesting. Because anytime that anytime that you're casting something, there will be a little bit of lag from the moving that information to when it shows up. And I suspect, Jean, that is also what is causing that little lag, because the information has to pass, right? So what I can speak of with the Arena, this is brought up in our founders Discord about this, how to eliminate this lag. So what we're actually doing on the screen part is in 25, we're creating a HDMI plus USB connection. This is like a unique connection because traditionally HDMI, you lose touch. So you lose a big portion of the value add. And if you cast, you get that little half-second lag, right? So the only way to do it is create a proprietary connection that has both HDMI and that is hardwired and also both USB. So you can then still access the touch panel. So that's what we're working on right now. And Andrew, do you have any current limitations that you know of running Foundry on Arena?
Yeah, I guess there's a couple things to call out, and these are, of course, things we're aware of and wanting to work on. If you're running Foundry using the built-in browser on the Arena, like Erik mentioned, it can be a great experience as long as asterisks the textures that you're using are sufficiently small. So I think, the built-in browser supports 4K textures, which is great for certain sized maps and certain sized experiences. But if you want to use larger textures, like we do in some of our first-party products, you would need a more powerful GPU in order to run that. And so that's when you would be connecting to the Arena with a laptop or a desktop and using that computer to be actually what's providing the visual display. And in that world, that's where this, special HDMI connection that George mentions, where you could have, you could use the Arena surface as a display output while still retaining touch as a peripheral input. Like that would sort of be a great way to solve that. And so I'm really eager to see how that technology develops myself. Other things like our interface obviously is built for like a laptop screen or a monitor, PC monitor. So like it sort of assumes a certain orientation is up and a certain orientation is down. That's not, especially friendly to certain people seated around the table at different angles. That's something that could be a key, limitation. With regards to the Pixels dice, and John can speak to this more because I think you're working on some clever solutions, but the current state is that you need a secure connection, HTTPS, using SSL certificates to connect the dice directly to Foundry using web Bluetooth. And that's great for some people, it's no problem, and for other people it's a problem. And so trying to figure out a better way to make that frictionless for people, that's a key thing. Yeah, I mean, I think those are kind of the things that spring to mind immediately as some of the key friction points. But I think they're all ones that have addressable directions that one or the other of us can kind of prioritize improving upon.
Yeah, precisely. I think, in terms of improvements for Pixels, it's exactly that. The connecting to the table, or in fact, any computer at the moment, goes through a Chrome browser. You don't have a choice, and it's very limiting, right? It has, because of security or whatever, you have to have this HTTPS security things, and it's, there's even limitations on the number of connections you can make, and not every piece of hardware has the same quality Bluetooth either, so sometimes it's more difficult. And so essentially the main pain point for us, and the one that we're working on right now, is proxying the information from your own phone that you have most likely already set up with your dice ahead of time, that could also forward some profile information or anything like that to Foundry directly, and make just your life just that much easier, right? So that's the main thing I can think of.
Yeah, so Erik?
Yeah, one of the things, and I don't know whose camp this is going to fall into, but right now I've only got one pixel die, but eventually I'd like more. And eventually I think all my players would like their own set of pixel dice. So having a way to have that many dice registered.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because they registered to the actor and not the user, I think we need a change in the way that they get registered, so that the dice are associated with the actor first, and then if there's not
Oh, I think we lost him.
little connection issues.
Yeah.
I think what is worth noting here is that the arena has only been available for 6 months.
See, this is
So
the problem
the fact that
as more and more dice become available.
Erik, I think we lost you for about 30 seconds there, but you're back. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. I think, as more and more dice become available, there's going to have to be a way to manage that number of dice through Foundry, so that everybody can have their own set of pixel dice.
Yeah, it's interesting because like currently, of course, the way that Foundry's designed, it expects individual users to be connecting from distinct hardware, and really like the arena is like one connection but 6 people, and that's not something that Foundry currently thinks about. Foundry currently thinks about, one connection, one person. And so, there's various ways to consider, evolving that, whether it's, allow for additional users that are kind of headless, sort of without an actual like distinct connection of their own, they're just representational, or whether it's like, it is still just one user, but as Erik said, there's a way to think more about like mapping specific dice to specific characters rather than to the player. But yeah, there would be some sort of solution like that necessary in order to have better awareness that like these are my dice, those are your dice, and to have them associated properly, depending on that. Yeah, it would require some work.
Exactly. I think what we're all trying to say here is that we need more and more support for the arena as a whole, so we know it's worth us spending all this time to solve all these issues, right?
Absolutely. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to move this section a little bit ahead. But I mean, it's still early innings, right? The arena's been available for 6 months on the market, 6-8 months, give or take, right? But just what we're seeing on the potential of this is there's a lot, and it's good to know that the leaders in the organizations here are all aware of this. All right, and it's something that is a nice checklist that we have that we want to work on. So early innings here. I want to make sure that we stick to time as best as we can. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Any audience that wants to throw your suggestions on new features, new solutions, just throw it into the chat. That will be feedback for us to discuss. And I want to go ahead and then roll into our Q&A just for the sake of time here, because I'm starting to see some questions pop up, which is fantastic. Okay, question 1. What are the biggest pain points when trying to use a touchscreen interface with Foundry? What solutions do you use? This might be an Erik or an Andrew question. Let's go Erik first.
I'm sorry, which question was this?
What are the biggest pain points when trying to use a touchscreen interface with Foundry? What solutions do you use?
Yeah, the first couple of sessions that we had, my players are used to, just putting their hands on the table whenever they feel like it. And on the touch screen, you can't do that. So we had maps shifting and tokens moving that were unanticipated. There are a couple of modules that you can add to Foundry that help with that. So some of those we posted in the game theory Discord server. You can read up on them there. But any of the Foundry modules that are designed to work with updating screens for touchscreen, those are going to help.
Yeah, we also took the feedback from our Discord members, and we're developing right now a turn off function for the touchscreen. So if you don't need it, you turn it off. Right? You want to turn it back on. All right, so that's going on right now. Question number 2: Can wireless speakers be connected to the arena? It says 2025 here. As a matter of fact, in 2024, you already could. The arena comes with internal speakers, but they're a little muffled because they're like in a table, but you could Bluetooth out. It has the function to do that right now, but it doesn't quite have Andrew's, 4.1 system yet. I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to figure it out. So noted, but yes. Oh, we got a founder here. Table number 78 here, and I have a couple of questions. Will there be a full screen rotation ability? So when several players playing Lords of Waterdeep app can be flipped over. We'll take that question first. I'll talk about it on the hardware side, and then maybe Andrew, we've talked about this as well. How do we do it on the software side? So right now we're trying to figure out if we can program in on-screen controls that rotate the screen, but with the current Android build, that's proving a little bit more difficult. So now we're moving sort of upstream to see how we can do it on the computer side, which then, because right now, natively in Android, if you flip a screen, it resets the machine, which we don't want, right? So still kind of working through how to do that on the hardware side. Andrew, how would you achieve rotation on the software side?
Sure, yeah. So first, a disclaimer that we don't have an official Lords of Waterdeep implementation on Foundry VTT yet, although we do have a partnership with Wizards of the Coast now, so maybe someday. One of the things I'm really hoping for in the future is to see a lot more board game style content on Foundry VTT, because I think it's a really untapped market for us. I think our software has all of the raw building blocks that are needed to support board games. We've got boards, we've got pieces, we've got cards, we've got tokens, we've got all of the elements that are used to play a board game. We've got all of the ingredients. It's just we don't really have many implementations of board games yet for whatever reason. I think that's a longer conversation about why. But certainly, like if you wanted to set up your own system for playing Lords of Waterdeep in Foundry, you could. You could set up the card decks, you could set up the pieces, you could try and get a digital representation of the board somehow. I don't know. And you could play the game. Now, getting to the technical question of like how would rotation be handled? Well, I guess the good news there is that Foundry's built using web technologies, and there's a lot of browser level techniques for handling rotation or transformation. Now, we don't support them in Foundry out of the box because we've not really had a reason to. We've not had a reason to, on your laptop screen, show you your character sheet upside down. But as we push into new territory about ways to use Foundry, certainly like the capability to transform or to rotate individual UI elements is technically feasible. It would require a little bit of development time from us or from a module developer that builds on top of our framework to make it happen. But I think, in terms of how it would be done, it would be done using the JavaScript and CSS APIs that being a web software allows us to use.
So you guys all heard it here first. Game Theory Tables is looking for a module developer for Foundry. So, I think a lot of these like features, and it's kind of the chicken and the egg thing, right? If there's enough installed bases, these solutions create themselves, right? Because the value sort of is there, but we're so early in the game here. It's kind of the chicken and the egg situation. I know that goes both for Jean and Andrew, so that's something that we're tackling right now.
One quick nice question about or additional comment about this is that I think like Foundry, like the theoretical solution can be very nuanced in that instead of just flipping the entire display where like everything turns, just specific things turn. So, you think about like the at table experience, like someone is looking at the board from a different angle. It's not like everyone's looking at the board from the same side of the table. So, you could have like the board and the pieces on the board stay with the same fixed orientation, but you could flip certain UI elements like your card hand or your rules reference that to be appropriate for the player's seated position. So I think like a sort of intermediate solution of rotating some things but not others would be really pretty elegant and also possible.
Yeah, in a hybrid solution, you definitely don't want to flip the map layer because all the miniatures are in a position, and if the map flips, then you've got to move all the physical pieces. So that would probably not be the best way to do it, but the individual UI elements, character sheets and things like that, that would be great.
There's a second part to that question. Is there any ideas of selling a phone charging pad to replace one of the cup holders? So we're starting to play with some different cup holder options. I can tell you guys right now, we're working on one that allows you to clip on a reading light because we have a lot of people's ambiance a little bit darker. So that's coming down the pipe. Right now, we don't have anything in the works for a charging pad for the phone. Doesn't mean that we won't have it in the future, except for it's worth noting that all the arenas have 8 110-volt plugs, 4 USB-A's, and 2 USB-C's underneath. So there is charging opportunities, but right now, maybe keep bugging me, and then we will develop one into the future. For Mr. Clayton and Foundry, to better assist all digital in-person games, can there be a pop-out screen, i.e. character sheet, and be able to rotate just those pop-outs, allowing the players to see their... So I think that's kind of what we were talking about before, right?
Yeah, I think we sort of covered it. I mean, there's also, of course, the possibility to have multiple devices connected to the game session. So you can have the shared screen on the surface of the arena, but you can also have your laptop, next to you, giving you private information just for you, or giving you a different set of information, your character sheet, whatever you want to be reading up on during the game, whether that's for the GM or for the player. Now, obviously, there's questions of, table culture in terms of how many devices and in what configuration do the people at the table want to be playing, and that's an important conversation to have with your group. But yeah, there's various ways to get multiple views that could either be personalized or non-personalized.
That's a great point. You can also have your own personal view with the personal, electronics that you bring in, right? So there's a whole bunch of ways to do it. Let's see. We got some shout outs. I love it. These are more feedback here. Is there a plan for a Warhammer sized option? Right now we have a Warhammer size, but it's non-digital. Right now, really the constraint for the digital is the ratio of the screen. At a 65-inch, it fits a table. Anything larger becomes a little bit weird. The alternative would be kind of like dead space on the sides. You can make the table a little bit bigger, but the screen stays the same. Kind of the parameters of the size of a table like the arena really hinges on the ratio size of the screen. Let's see. Is there a planned upgrade path for the current table to get more powerful integrated PCs so there isn't a 4K map limitation? Similarly, existing owners will be able to upgrade to the new connection when available, both without having to replace the entire table. Okay, so great question. I think Andrew kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. The arena display, right? Even though we packed it with firepower, and you can basically process all web apps and Google Play Store, it's still at its core a display, right? So if you really want to bring in something that's over 4K resolution, you're going to have to bring that laptop, the separate GPU in to get that additional display resolution. But the good part about that is it makes it so the display doesn't really ever get outdated. You're gonna increase the processing power of your laptop, and the display will be able to handle that. The new upgrade HDMI USB connection. We will make it backwards compatible for existing arena owners. We will give instructions on how to replace the main board, but it will take a little bit of unscrewing and replacing, but it's not on a scale of 1 to 10. I'd probably say it's about a 3 in terms of technical difficulty. Let's see. Technology has a tendency to upgrade at a much faster rate than tables age. Aside from updating RAM processor speed, is there a best way to make sure that our tables and innovations that come 5 to 20 years from now? I think that's kind of what I was touching on previously, which is think about the arena as your monitor. Or you're not replacing your monitor every 1 or 2 years. A good monitor will last you for a long time. That's really how you think about the display aspect of it, because the upgrading, the major processing is going to be done on your laptop, to run Foundry, for example, to its truest potential. Let's see. Okay, I don't think that's. I think we just blasted through the questions there. So I did promise that we were going to give something away, guys. Was there a question that popped out to you guys as a specifically articulate or memorable question?
I think we all want rotated UIs in Foundry, I guess. That was the
Where is that one?
I'll give my tip of the hat to the person who asked about the phone charging plugin. I think that's a good idea.
Erik, how about you? Anything that popped up to you?
George, I think you're going to have to be the tiebreaker, because I'm going to go with the USB HDMI cable.
Well, actually, table number 78 had both those questions, which was the rotation and the phone charging. So there we go. Do I have a name here? All I can see is RS. RS, table number 78. You got some Meeple buddies coming to you guys. We ran a couple minutes long, but I want to thank all of the panelists and especially all of the attendees that joined us this morning. We promised you a fun chat Wednesday morning. Hopefully we deliver that for you. We're going to go ahead and record this, and we're going to put it up on our YouTube. We're going to share it with Foundry and Pixel. They can do with it what they like, but we'll add in all of the links to things that we talked about today. And hey, guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Biggest gratitude to our panelists, our audience, and everybody. And thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for showing up and for the good questions.
Yeah.